I just look at a piece of bread and gain 5 pounds. Years ago, a client said that to me. And honestly, at the time, I internally thought that can't actually be true. But what I understand now is that for many women in midlife, myself included, it can feel true because suddenly carbs hit differently, weight gain happens way more easily, energy crashes harder, and the things that used to work stop working. Not because women are lazy, not because they've lost willpower, but because their physiology has changed. And nobody explained these new rules. Hey, beautiful, it's Claudine, functional health practitioner and author of Your Midlife Body Code. If you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you want help understanding which systems may actually be struggling underneath your symptoms, you can take my Midlife Body Code quiz below. So let's dig in. Years ago, I had a client who was around 50 say this to me, right? She was a healthy eater most of the time, working out consistently, and trying really, really hard to do everything right. At the time, I didn't fully understand what was actually happening underneath it. I mean, I knew stress was part of the picture. I knew her body was overwhelmed, but I didn't yet fully understand how dramatically midlife changes the way many women's bodies respond to food, stress, exercise, blood sugar, and recovery. And I definitely didn't understand yet how much estrogen impacts insulin sensitivity and what we'll call metabolic function, or how your body metabolizes. And that is the conversation I want to have today, because so many women are still trying to use a 30-year-old strategy on a completely different body. So one of the biggest things women are rarely told is that perimenopause and menopause don't just affect your periods. They affect metabolism. So as estrogen starts declining, women often become more insulin resistant. That means that the body becomes less efficient at handling blood sugar and carbohydrates. So the same meal your body tolerated at 30 may affect you very differently at 45 or 50. And this is where women often start feeling like my body has betrayed me, because weight suddenly comes on more easily, inflammation increases more easily, blood sugar becomes more unstable, muscle mass becomes harder to maintain, and fat loss becomes a lot harder than it used to be, especially around the midsection. And then many women do what they try harder, which means they're eating less, they're exercising more, they're pushing through exhaustion, they're skipping meals, maybe relying on caffeine, doing more cardio, ignoring hunger, because they think, I just need more discipline. Girl, you don't need no more discipline. If the problem is your body is already becoming less resilient underneath the surface. So actually pushing harder creates more stress on a system that is already struggling to keep up. This is what I call the push through problem. This is the part I really wish more women understood. Now, a lot of high achieving women have spent decades overriding their bodies. So that's nothing new, right? They have already learned to keep going when exhausted, ignore stress, undereat, survive on caffeine, sleep less, push through everything. And when they were younger, the body could compensate surprisingly well for a while, right? Our bodies were great at compensating for us in our 20s and 30s. But by midlife, the body often stops compensating the same way. And what used to work suddenly starts backfiring. That's why I see so many women saying things like, I barely eat and I still can't lose weight, or I am working out harder than ever, or I'm exhausted all the time, or nothing works anymore. Because the answer is not push harder, it's support the body differently. And that is a very different conversation. So don't worry, we're going to go through how to address this. Now, another huge piece of this is blood sugar instability, because when blood sugar is constantly swinging, energy crashes are harder, cravings increase, cortisol increases, which we don't need any help with that. The nervous system becomes more reactive, and the body becomes much more resistant to letting weight go, especially in women who are already dealing with stress, poor sleep, hormone shifts, or nervous system overload. And unfortunately, many women are accidentally making this worse without realizing it. For example, they might be skipping breakfast. They might be drinking coffee instead of eating, or under eating protein, or eating most of their calories late at night, or trying to be good all day and then crashing later. And then they blame themselves when they feel out of control around food. But often the body is trying to survive inconsistent fueling, right? You're not giving it fuel on a consistent basis, most likely, and it's trying to survive that. And so your body isn't trying to punish you. It's responding to the environment it believes it's living in, right? You're giving it a scarcity environment and it's responding. And that is very different from lack of willpower. So, what can you do? This is the part I really want women to hear. Number one, your body is not broken, but your body may need a different strategy than the one that worked for you in your 30s. So where do I usually start? First off is eat enough protein. You've probably heard this, but I want to be really specific here. Most women I work with are dramatically under eating, especially when it comes to protein. And protein is essential for keeping your blood sugar stable, for maintaining that muscle mass, for neurotransmitter production, right? Keeping your brain happy with that serotonin and dopamine, keeping stable energy, and helping with your metabolism. So a good starting goal for most women is 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal, 3 times per day. Hear me on that. 3 consistent times throughout the day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you've heard of them? Those are great. Number 2 is to stop under eating all day. This is huge in midlife women. Many women are having coffee in the morning, barely eating during the day, then they eat most of their calories at night. This absolutely affects blood sugar, cortisol, cravings, energy, and how efficiently the body burns energy. Your body needs consistent fuel to feel safe. When it doesn't feel safe, it holds on to fat, right? Because fat is its energy source. It holds on to it to save for later because it's like, we're not safe. Number 3 is to build muscle instead of punishing yourself with cardio. Now, muscle becomes incredibly important in midlife. You've probably heard that we lose muscle as we age. So we need to double up on keeping muscle, because muscle helps with blood sugar regulation. So it helps keep your blood sugar stable. It helps you become more insulin sensitive, so your body doesn't have these huge swings when you look at a piece of bread. It helps with your metabolism. It obviously builds strength and resilience, which means strength training becomes more important than endless cardio in midlife. And again, it's not because exercise is bad or cardio is bad. It's because constantly hammering an already stressed body often makes it less willing to burn fuel freely. The 4th thing is to support your nervous system. This is another piece women massively underestimate, because a body that feels chronically stressed does not regulate well. That means prioritizing sleep. If you are having trouble sleeping, go back and watch one of my sleep episodes. You also want to reduce overstimulation. So that's things like doom scrolling, constant multitasking, never taking time to rest, never taking time to recover. So reducing that overstimulation, or basically helping your body chill out. Making sure you're getting outside for light exposure. Sun is really important to our nervous system. Eating consistently, taking breaks, slowing down enough for the body to actually recover. And honestly, for many women, this also means learning to stop treating their body like the enemy, which I know can be hard. Number 5 is to test instead of guess. This is where proper testing can be incredibly helpful. If you've done all those things already and things aren't changing, you might want to look at things like fasting insulin, A1C levels, getting a comprehensive blood panel, Dutch testing for hormones and cortisol, HTMA for mineral patterns and nervous system stress, GI map testing for gut health and inflammation. Because when you can actually see what your body is struggling with, the path forward becomes a lot clearer. And then, this is kind of the pièce de résistance, the new thing that we have at our disposal. For some women, this is where targeted tools like peptides may help. Not because they override physiology, but because certain peptides can support blood sugar regulation, recovery, muscle retention, metabolic function, or nervous system regulation, while the foundations underneath are also being addressed. But again, they work best when the body is actually being supported properly overall. If you don't know a lot about peptides, check out my other video on that. So When I think back to that client years ago, the one who would just look at a piece of bread and gain 5 pounds, I understand now that her body wasn't just being difficult, right? This wasn't made up in her head, her than the one she had relied on earlier in life. And honestly, I think this is one of the biggest mindset shifts that women need in midlife, because so many women blame themselves for changes that are actually physiological. They think, I'm failing, when in reality, it's just that their body is asking for a different strategy. And that is a much more empowering conversation than just eat less and try harder. So if this resonated with you, I'd love for you to comment below. Me too, because I think a lot of women feel this way and don't realize how common it actually is. And if you want help understanding which systems may actually be struggling underneath your symptoms, take the Midlife Body Code quiz below. It'll help you identify where your body may be under the most stress, what patterns may be contributing to weight struggles, fatigue, cravings, or overwhelm, and most importantly, where to start first. And honestly, if you know another woman who keeps blaming herself because her body suddenly feels different, send her this video because she probably needs to hear this too. I'll see you in the next one.